Hey guys, welcome to another New World video. In today's video I want to talk about this so-called paid expansion leak that took place on the forums a while back. It has since been deleted of course, but in any event, I thought we could have a look at it and discuss its potential credibility or lack of credibility. I know this has been talked about already, and I hadn't planned on making this video, but I have been getting a ton of private messages asking me about my thoughts on it, if I had heard anything and so on. So let's just get into it. So first, let's have a look at the person who posted it. I often cruise the forums in order to stay in touch with that aspect of the community, and Akrasi is very vocal on there. Now, does he know a dev, and does he know one in such a personal way as to have received a leak? I have no clue, and nothing he ever posts leads me to believe he does. However, there is an idea floating around that he defends the game and was using this post to drum up hype. This I am not sure about either. I mean, it is possible, who knows. But in researching and reading every post he has ever made in order to try to understand this character in the story, I have found that there are many circumstances where he very clearly criticizes the game as well. So it's really difficult to completely understand him as a character. Anyway, let's have a look at this so-called leak first, then we can talk about it after. So the things that he posted were a completely overhauled territory control, faction versus faction wars, and risk versus reward open world PvP, new arena and OPR maps, single queue not splitting players, rotating maps like in Overwatch, overhauled combat for PvP only, adds an endgame specialization in a primary and secondary weapon that allows the use of 6 skills per weapon. The UI changes back to the current combat UI when flagged for PvP, uses a lengthy and epic questline to unlock, event-based open world raid bosses that unlock sequentially and dynamically based on the player interaction and outcomes, like in a TV series. Completely new lore tied to open world raid boss events. A new MSQ cinematic rich story quest tied to the new open world raids. A mount system with its own profession, and swimming with its own underwater profession. Cross-server everything, PvP expeditions, raid groups, cross-server world. Remote islands and boat system with its own open seas non-instance PvP mode. New zones, new weapons, new expeditions, and even some that have a 10-player mode. New character creator customizations, both free and paid. Okay guys, so where do I begin? I guess we'll just go through them point by point and talk about them briefly. So the first one, the overhaul to the PvP territory control. This would be crazy ambitious, and I do see this potentially changing over time, as it has been. A complete overhaul though, in one expansion in a year from now? No way that's going to be something that they pull off. Next up, new arena and OPR maps. This I can see coming. I don't think AGS really wants to do this, but it would be popular and relatively easy to introduce. And with all the people getting so mad about it lately, I do see this coming. Now, the overhaul to the combat system. This one I don't believe, and is where I lose all faith in the credibility of this whole thing. This guy has been posting for a long while about how he feels that the 2 weapons and the 3 skills is killing New World. He has also mentioned that he wants rotations in New World, much like in Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft. So for me, this hits way too close to home with his wish list, and seems to me to be more of a fan fiction, like him trying to make his wish list come true. He has an extensive post that I'm putting on the screen right now, and I will link to in the description, where he talks about this exact thing with the 6 skills and the rotations and such that he posted it back in October. And again here with the event-based raid bosses. Again, this falls into the same category as before. He also has mentioned hating the Zergs on bosses, and again makes mention of World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV in many posts. This just feels like a wish more than a feature we may get. Now, the new lore tied to the raid bosses and the new MSQ and stuff like that. That all will likely come. They have already said that they're revamping the Weaver's Fen area, both in an expansion and before one will see this happen. And the new mount system. Well, that's already been announced, as well as has been that it will be some sort of new profession come along with it. So that's pretty clearly real. Swimming and its own profession. Well, potentially swimming may come, but I wouldn't really hold my breath for it. But what profession is aligned with swimming? Like diving archaeology? Or are you just going to be a snorkel maker? And well, the rest looks all pretty good. And quite likely. Except of course for the boat PvP combat. Sure, it would be cool, but unlikely. For a few reasons. The first one, if we could go sailing, why wouldn't we just leave this place? And second, that's a pretty ambitious thing for 1 year. So overall, do I think the leak sounds cool? Of course, who wouldn't? But do I think it is real? No way. Absolutely no way I think this is real. I mean, no offense to the poster, I am sure he posted it with the best of intentions, because he clearly likes the game and wants it to succeed. And maybe he thought if he did something like this, it might generate enough hype around certain things that it would force AGS into a corner to develop them, much like how some of the content creators forced hype to create Fresh Start. Now, the main reason I feel this is impossible is simple reality. We are talking about AGS here, and the game has been out for a little over a year now. So let's have a look at a few things. Very simple things in this game have been broken since release and are not fixed. And there have been multiple patches that were meant to fix them that haven't. For example, icons on items in storage being completely different than the item is. Fishing trophies were broken and didn't stack for almost an entire year. Then, when they fixed them, they changed the amount of fishing luck they provide, but forgot to change the tooltip. And to this day, months later, it remains wrong saying 9,000 when it is 5,000, which they even stated in their patch notes. They added the ability to craft 600 gear score tools and bags to the game after 2 months of PTR testing. And during the PTR, multiple people reported that they were not working right and not rolling legendary. Yet still, it made it to live, and it took a week to fix after that. Arena was completely broken when it was added, and then when it was finally fixed, the simple arena consumables ended up being removed because they simply couldn't get them to work. There has been an exploit in the game currently that is allowing people to use the passives of their sheathed weapon on their current active weapon. This bug has been in the game for almost 3 months. Nothing has been mentioned, and it remains unfixed. It has been a year, and they still haven't added simple things like a barbershop, or the ability to change character appearance, or even dye your skins. And when they finally say that these sorts of things are being developed, they announce it won't be ready for 6 to 7 months. The leaderboard's a very simple system that rewards players for certain activities, which should be easy to add because they consistently in the dev blogs rhyme off server stats in an effort to show us they are always watching, has been on the PTR for months, doesn't work correctly, and got pushed back till February. The fact that they fixed the Dynasty barrels and the Genesis tree because they were too low, only to accidentally revert that change after, in the next patch. If you craft a bunch of winter patterns, you get no materials back when you salvage them. So, then you will hold on to them because of course they will get fixed, right? But then you will find on the forum a thread that said they were broken last year too. There still remains no ice resist potions. They take the time to fix the ring that they generated or created with Brimstone that was a mistake, to give it a new perk that only applies to one single thing in the game, poison shot with the bow. Some shields you get still come with the gems in them. I could go on, but I am sure you get the point. Now, do not mistake my intentions with listing these things. I'm not attempting to shit on the game at all. I play it, I love it, even with these faults. The reason I am talking about these things is to illustrate how ridiculous it is to believe that these sorts of features listed in this leak would have any sort of chance of making it into a live game in a year, or really even 2 years. Unless AGS has contracted this out to another company. And if by some miracle these lofty features did get added, it would be chaos. If they can't make a consumable work for 3 months, can you imagine if they added ships and an entire new PvP combat system around them? No shot. When we think of things that are coming, we have to be realistic. We have to understand what's possible for the current team based on their performance so far. Could all of these features be added? Of course they could, but it would take like 5 years for this kind of list to hit live. Shit, it took them 5 months to make the legendary Void Gauntlet quest chain work. Anyway guys, what do you think? Am I being too critical? Do you think this is real? Let me know in the comments. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.